I remember getting the news. I didn't cry immediately. I just stood there, staring into space, like my brain couldn't process what my ears had just heard. Everything felt distant, quiet, unreal. Then the tears came. Then the rage. I got in my car and started driving. And if I'm being honest, I wasn't driving to clear my head. I was driving because I was angry. Angrier than I had ever been in my life. My son had been taken from me, and in that moment, I wanted someone else to hurt the way I was hurting. I don't tell you that because I'm proud of it. I tell you because it's true. When people talk about grief, they usually talk about sadness. They don't talk about shock. They don't talk about anger. They don't talk about the thoughts that show up when your world is shattered and your mind is desperately trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. So today, I don't want to talk about how to overcome grief. I don't think I'm qualified to do that. I'm still carrying mine. I just want to talk about what grief has actually been like for me. And maybe some of you will recognize pieces of your own story in it. For a long time, I thought I was dealing with anger. Looking back, I think I was dealing with grief. Anger was just easier to carry. Anger gave me somewhere to put the pain. It felt stronger, more useful, more familiar. Sadness makes you feel vulnerable. Anger makes you feel powerful, at least for a little while. But eventually I learned that anger doesn't remove grief. It just sits on top of it. Underneath the anger was heartbreak. Underneath the rage was love. Underneath all of it was a father who missed his son. And grief didn't just show up as anger. It showed up as isolation, as numbness, as depression, as trying to distract myself from what I was feeling. For a while I drank. For a while I fought. For a while I chased relationships, hoping another person could fill a hole they didn't create. None of it worked. Because grief has a way of waiting for you. No matter how fast you run, no matter how many distractions you find, eventually it catches up. One thing nobody really prepares you for is how ordinary things become painful. A child's laugh, the sound of toys hitting a hardwood floor, tiny hands grabbing yours. Old pictures, certain dates on the calendar, things that most people barely notice. For you, they become reminders. And the strange thing about grief is that it doesn't always hit during the moments you'd expect. Sometimes it shows up in the grocery store. Sometimes it shows up during a drive home from work. Sometimes it shows up when life is actually going pretty well. You could be laughing one minute and struggling the next. 10 years have passed for me, and there are still moments that catch me off guard. There are still moments that remind me of what was lost. Not because I haven't healed, not because I'm stuck. Because grief doesn't work on a schedule. One of the hardest days after losing my son wasn't the day I got the call. It was what would have been his 5th birthday. By then, years had passed. Life had kept moving. I was functioning, working, getting through my days, doing what all of us do. But when that birthday came around, it felt like everything hit me all over again, like I had just gotten the phone call. The pain wasn't new, it was familiar. That's what made it so hard. I realized something that day. Grief doesn't care how much time has passed. Sometimes 10 years feels like 10 years. Sometimes 10 years feels like 10 minutes. And if you've experienced loss, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. A smell, a song, a date, a memory, and suddenly, you're right back there. One thing grief doesn't get enough credit for is the way it turns you into a detective. You replay conversations, replay decisions, replay moments. Looking for answers, looking for mistakes, looking for proof that maybe things could have ended differently. I've done that more times than I can count. Because when someone you love is gone, part of you keeps searching. Searching for understanding, searching for control, searching for a way to make sense of something that never will. And underneath all those questions is usually one more. Did I do enough? Could I have done more? I don't know how many men carry that question around, but I know I'm not the only one. Whether it's the loss of a child, the loss of a parent, the loss of a relationship, or the loss of a future you thought you were going to have. A lot of us carry guilt that doesn't belong to us, and we carry it because we loved someone deeply. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about grief is that one day you'll get over it. That you'll wake up and it won't hurt anymore. That you'll finally move on. That hasn't been my experience. I still think about my son every day. Certain things still hit me. Certain memories still hurt. I'm not at peace with what happened. I don't know if I ever will be, but I am learning something. You can either make room for grief in your life, or you can let it consume your life. One way or another, it becomes part of you. The goal isn't to pretend it isn't there. The goal is learning how to carry it without letting it destroy everything else. And some days are easier than others. I'm still learning that myself. If you've lost someone, I don't have a formula for you. I don't have 5 steps. I don't have a secret that makes it easier. I just know what I've learned from carrying grief for the last 10 years. It doesn't completely leave. It changes. It becomes part of your story, part of who you are, part of how you see the world. And as painful as that is, there's something else I've learned. The loss hurts because the love was real. When I think about my son, I don't think about a lack of love. I think about love that was interrupted, love that didn't get enough time. Love that still exists even though he's gone. And if there was one thing I could say to him today, it would be this: I love you. And I really did try everything in my power to save and protect you. I wish I could have done more, but I loved you with everything I had. Maybe that's what grief really is. Love that has nowhere to go. Love that keeps showing up long after someone is gone. Love that hurts, love that stays. And maybe learning to move through life with grief is really learning how to carry that love forward.